welcome to the unique episode of IELTS Live on 4TV. Well, this is a concept that we thought about of sharing the tips and tricks required for IELTS. When we talk about this course, it is one of the courses that the students out here are really afraid of, and they give this multiple times, this so-called exam. Now, the main reason of starting this program is the doubts and queries that the students brought to me in our institute when they come to us inquiring about these kind of courses. A lot of people have got a mental block that this course is a little tough out there. It's nothing about English. It's a lot of other things. Though we write, we don't get marks. We never score in writing. We never score in speaking. These are the modules that these people, that the students, they feel it's very hard to follow these concepts. Now, well, today we are going to talk about IELTS in general, and today we're going to talk about some reading tips as well. When we think about these kind of programs, what happens is this is something that calls for your skills basically. Now, IELTS, let's look at the brief of IELTS. When we talk about IELTS, yes, International English Language Testing System. Now, this program was developed in the 1980s by the University of Cambridge in association with British Council and IDP, with a target of developing a program that could act as a benchmark when people from around the world, let that be students, let that be job aspirants, let that be migrants, when they move on to the so-called country, native English speaking country to be more precise, they should be aware of the linguistic skills that they should process before they land in such a nation. Of course, we should also be, it's an irony that our country, we also take English as our national language along with Hindi, but still most of our states, they don't practice this program as such, as the local language is promoted. Well, when it comes to this kind of program, the skill that is required to pass IELTS, I would reckon as the English, as well as your general knowledge, as well as your proactiveness, as well as your concentration skills. A lot of things are required out here. Now, when we talk about this program, so-called IELTS, this is a course that is accepted worldwide as an English benchmark. Now, when we talk about other courses like PTE, OET and all, these all courses are country-based or profession-based. So what happens is, IELTS becomes the versatile course that is required for you to migrate or to fulfill your academic dreams in any part of the world who accept these kind of programs. Now, when we talk about this course, I will rather say that it is all about English but nothing about English. Now, why do I say so? Is that I've seen a lot of people who are good in English, they miss out in IELTS. I've seen a lot of students who are so smart enough, they have excelled in their academics, still they fail in IELTS. Why is that so? The problem here is, to pass this kind of a score or to get this kind of a score is somewhere around 70 to 90%. Now, in our academics, if you rewind, how many subjects were there where you scored 90% marks? Very less, maybe. Now, what happens is that this course, it talks about scoring such kind of a mark, because even if you go to any universities, minimum score is 6.5 overall, 7, and when it comes to migration, when you talk about migration, the score is 8, 7, 7, 7 in all these 4 modules. Like listening is 8, writing is 7, reading is 7, speaking is 7. So this is the benchmark that they talk about, and then they take you to their country as a migrant out there to fulfill your dreams, settle down in a developed country. This is the dream of people in the state who talk about migrating today. Well, as we all know, the outflow towards other countries has reduced drastically in the last couple of years, where people are only looking at European countries or some other countries where they could settle down, where there is an element of social security out there, where there is a promising life out there. So these things are the ones that people look at. Moreover, talking a little more about this course, This exam has got different aspects, as I discussed earlier also. The writing, reading, listening and speaking. When you talk about these courses, they really test your linguistic skills, as I told you earlier. But having said that, if you look at another example, നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിലാണെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ ചില നല്ല എഴുത്തുകാർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മലയാളത്തിൽ പ്രാവീണ്യം കിട്ടിയ ചില ആൾക്കാർ മലയാളം സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് അവരുടെ ഭാഷ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരുടെ മലയാളം അത് വളരെ ഹൈ ലെവലാണ്, നമുക്ക് പോലും മലയാളം അറിയില്ലാന്ന് തോന്നിപ്പോകും. If you take the same way IELTS also, you will not get the marks, because we have got a leader from our state whose English is famous for its vocabularies, but you will not get marks in IELTS for that. Here we talk about simple English, we talk about good vocabulary, we talk about multiple vocabularies and good sentence formation and the task. When you talk to point, you get marks. Like for instance, if somebody asks you in the morning, what did you have? If your answer is, I had a lactose drink in the morning, you don't get marks. Because milk is, yes, of course it's a lactose drink, but we call it milk only. So what happens with IELTS is all about this. When we have to communicate, how do we communicate? This is the point that they talk about. Well, when we talk about the exams pattern, as I told you, the exams are divided into 4 aspects. These aspects are listening, reading, writing and speaking. The first 3 modules, that is listening, reading and writing, are conducted on a single day in this part of the world. Speaking is conducted separately. Now when we talk about these kind of tests, what happens is that as we all know, there are a lot of aspirants who go for this test monthly, once, twice, thrice. These tests are available in more than 4 or 5 centers in the state itself. And believe me, India is a country that gives IELTS, maximum number of students, because our population is so, and we are the ones who got a lot of aspirants who intend to go abroad for their academic or for their migration or for their job purpose. So all these things are available. This is the reason why this course is in demand in our country. Now when we talk about, again coming back to the pattern of exams, of course out here what happens is your skills in English is tested on one given day. How it is done? Listening module is a program, a kind of a test that is for 30 minutes. 30 minutes, there are 4 audios, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 10 minutes for you to copy your answers into your fare sheet. Now after that, you have got a reading module coming up, that is for 1 hour, where you don't get any time to copy it, you have to do it in 1 hour itself. Next is your writing module. Writing module has got different aspects, task 1, task 2. It differs for different types of exams. We will be discussing that in the next session. Apart from that, speaking, that goes for 15 minutes only for a given particular day. And when we talk about IELTS exams, there are different types of exams as well in IELTS. One is IELTS General, that is meant for people who plan to go and settle down abroad, migration aspirants. When you talk about academics, there is something called as IELTS Academics, meant for students who plan to go abroad, meant for nurses who plan to go abroad and settle down out there in pursuit of medical excellence as well. They've developed with they've come out these days with UKBI as well, IELTS UKBI, that is meant for the universities. Apart from that, we've got a new test that IELTS has launched, because a lot of students out here, they miss out in writing module, not because they don't know English, not because their grammatical aspects is weak, not because their task achievement is not done, not because of their cursive skills. What they miss out is because of their handwriting. Now handwriting, as we all know, a lot of grades have said that handwriting is something that you should develop when you are a child. The moment you're grown up, it's very hard to change your handwriting. And believe me, your handwriting portrays your character as well. That's something called as handwriting analysis as well. Now, to overcome this aspect, there's another test called as PTE that is developed by an Australian firm. But IELTS has come out to compete, and that is called as IELTS Computer Skills. Now, there you have got speaking module, the same conventional speaking session. Other 3 are in the system as well. Now that is available in rare cities in India, so it's not common as such. Till now we are going out with the conventional paper writing methods only. Now that was a brief about IELTS course and the contents and how do you attempt all those things. Now the next session after the break, we will talk about the course and we'll also talk about reading skills, something called as true, false, not given, yes, no, not given. What are the formulas? How do you work out? How do you get them right? Let's check it out on IELTS Live.
Planning to immigrate or study abroad? Contact Can Approve for hassle-free immigration, education and legal consultation services. Headquartered in Canada with more than 19 years of experience, our expert lawyers and consultants can help you immigrate to Canada, Australia and European countries. Study your dream course in the UK, New Zealand and Canada. Study MBBS in Georgia and Ukraine. So get in touch. Visit canapprove.com.
Welcome back to the show IELTS Live, one of its kind to learn IELTS skills. Now we'll be continuing with this session, and wherein we'll be incorporating slides onto our course where you will have a feel of the real classroom that you are attending. We've already given you the WhatsApp number that you can look in, and if you want to get some more notes or anything on these slides, you can contact us as well. Let me start with this module, IELTS listening. Let's look at the slides and I'll be explaining you how you should attempt these modules. Well, continuing with the IELTS program, IELTS Live on 4TV. Today, as I told you earlier, we are going to discuss about the marking patterns of IELTS. When I talk about marking patterns, I talk about the listening module first, as this is the first exam that you will be attending when you go for a IELTS test. Now, there are 40 questions in this program, 40 questions that you need to attempt. There will be an audio played, as I told you earlier as well. 4 audios coming in with 10 questions each. This listening module, 4 audio ആണ് play ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഈ 4 ഓഡിയോയിൽ ഓരോന്നിലും 10 questions വീതം ഉണ്ടാവും. This module is all about, the first one is a little easier, second one a little harder, third one a little harder, fourth one the toughest. This is the way it goes on. Now, what is the score that you should target? The score that you should target is, if you want 8 minimum questions required, correct answers is 35. If you need 6, it starts from 23. So wherever you want 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, anything, it goes like this. So this many number of questions you should get it right. After hearing to the audio, you need to answer certain questions that will be given to you. In the due course, we will be discussing about the real tips and tricks of how to attend these questions, how to get marks in these questions. We'll be discussing about each and every aspect of listening, where the number of questions are there. Each question has got a concept to be followed, and we will explain you how you decode what you listen on an audio and get your answers. The key out here is, a lot of vocabularies are there that you may get confused out there, because there are more than 10 accents that could come in IELTS listening. 10 different accents starting from New Zealand to US. So all these countries, they will have different accents of people talking in IELTS, and based on their accents you need to find out the answers for this. Like, as you know, if you go to some place in London, you may get people talking about lunch. I mean, they were talking about lunch, but they pronounce it like that. Like, ours is a state where our language changes every 30 kilometers you travel. The same way it's with them also. So what happens with this is, your skills are tested out here in listening module. Well, let's continue the next module.
Planning to immigrate or study abroad? Contact Can Approve for hassle-free immigration, education and legal consultation services. Headquartered in Canada with more than 19 years of experience, our expert lawyers and consultants can help you immigrate to Canada, Australia and European countries. Study your dream course in the UK, New Zealand and Canada. Study MBBS in Georgia and Ukraine. So get in touch. Visit canapprove.com.
let's continue with the next slide, that is about IELTS reading module. Now, one of the important modules in IELTS, as we all are aware, any language if you want to learn, even today we've got those those oldies out there in our households who tell us, if you want to learn a language, read the newspaper. So reading is a skill that really that really helps you to learn a language, and the same way reading test in IELTS is one of the toughest ones. Now, why does this become toughest? We will discuss about it, but let's understand the format of this. Again, out here there are 40 questions that comes in, and your marking is same from 2 to 9 that you get. Now, when we talk about this kind of a scoring, what are the scores that you should target? You should be targeting, if you are a migrating aspirant, your target should be 7. That is 34 questions out of 40. You should get it right. It is not an easy task. That's the reason why it is so tough. When you talk about academics, yes, it starts from 6 and that is 23, the same thing. But in academics, what happens is that this module has got 2 different tests for academic and general. Now, academic test is comparatively a little tougher because the language is a little tougher, but the marking is a little lenient out there. So you get 7 even if you scored somewhere around 30 marks. So in general, it is 34 that is required. In academic, it is 30 to score 7 if you're targeting 7 as far as reading module is concerned. Reading again comes in different passages, maybe 4, maybe 3 passages. Each passage will have multiple questions. You should be solving each and every questions in the given stipulated time of 1 hour. Now, how do we do that? We'll be learning all those things in our course. The next module, the next slide, is all about the writing module, one of the important modules in IELTS. And this is the module there where a lot of students, they fail out. 6.5 is the figure that they get. 7, it becomes a real hard nut to crack. But let's look at what are the things that they access as far as IELTS is concerned. When we talk about this, as you can see in the slide, there are 4 aspects. The first one is task achievement. You should be able to attempt the question that is given to you. I mean, here also there are differences in academic and general. Task 1 is a little different when you talk about academic and general. We'll discuss that in detail in the next slides when we continue with the class. The first one is task achievement, as I said. The second one is coherent and cohesive skills, where your subject flow is measured, and lexical resources. The third one, lexical resources, is all about your vocabularies. You should not be repeating words. You should have good vocabularies. You should have synonyms with you to express the same concept as well. Apart from that, the fourth one is your grammatical range and accuracy. Now, grammar is something that a lot of students, I've seen in my experience, a lot of students, they lack grammatical skills. The reason being, a student from a vernacular medium, they have this problem a little more than the other students from English medium. Having said that, it is not that vernacular medium cannot clear this. No, it is not that way around. But if you intend to learn any language, English is also a language, end of the day. But what I've observed is that we Keralites, we have a problem, and the problem is we always look at other language quite lightly. Like if you remember, Hindi parayan paranjal, avane arayum pole parayum, javoda, avoda nokku parayum. But in English, they will look at the grammar. English grammatically correct anengil maatrame nammal parayullu. This is one problem. Another problem is we always think in our mother tongue and translate it to English. Another problem that we have. This is not just with us, this is with everyone, because our brain does a process of translating words, translating vocabularies. That is the reason why in cases where your vocabulary, your translation of vocabularies may end up in blunders also. That's the reason why we always say that if you want to learn a language, start thinking in that language. That is the place where your grammar, your concepts, everything gets in line, in tandem with the English language requirements. So this is the reason why this module becomes so crucial as well. Apart from this, apart from other things also, ഇതിൽ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ തന്നെ ഈ ഒരു സ്കിൽസിൻ്റെ കൂടെ തന്നെ നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടതാണ് ഹാൻഡ് റൈറ്റിംഗ്. നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ വിസിബിൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ലെജിബിൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആർക്കും ഇത് വായിച്ചിട്ട് മനസ്സിലാവില്ല. And they will not give you marks even. That's the reason why I always suggest my students, there's only one way to rectify your handwriting, and that is copywriting. Even in my career, I've made a lot of students write that and get their handwriting back to track as required by IELTS. It should be legible. If it is not legible, whatever good you write, you will not get the marks. I've come across students who got 9, 8.5, 9, 6. Writing is 6. Why? Because of the handwriting. Not because he does not know English. It is because of his handwriting. So this is something that we should take care. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഈ ഒരു കോഴ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് തന്നെ ഇത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് കൺസെപ്റ്റ്സ് ഇത് മൊത്തത്തിൽ കവർ ചെയ്യാനുള്ളതാണ്. So you need to be ready to accept, and if you intend to clear this exam, what I tell you first, before we begin, tell yourself you're back to school and you are into the process of learning. I mean, knowledge transfer is a process. Learning is a process that never ends. So you should tell yourself you're a student and start rectifying, start learning whatever skills are required to clear this so-called module. When we talk about IELTS speaking module, the next module, what I reckon is speaking is a module that does not just talk about, that doesn't just talk about your language. It's about your personality as well. It's about the way you speak. It's about an interview with you. This session is for 15 minutes where they test your skills of talking in English and expressing yourself. Now, what are the aspects that they look at? Fluency and coherence skills. That is about how you speak, what you speak, your pronunciation, and all those things. Lexical resources, again, the number of vocabularies, the kind of vocabularies that you use. Then comes grammatical range and accuracy. Of course, the sentence formation. It's very important to ensure that your grammatical skills are good as far as speaking is concerned. Of course, we always say that colloquial language is a little different, but when you talk about IELTS, it is the same as you write. So you should be very careful with your grammatical aspects as well. Then comes the pronunciation. As we all know, pronunciation is a problem with people who talk different mother tongue, because your mother tongue always influences your language. For example, as we know, there are certain languages that they talk with their throat, some with their lips. It's all different. So that ethnic shade will always come in your speaking skills as well. And your grammar, your language, all those things are tested in speaking. Well, it's time to wind up this show, but let me tell you, today what we discussed is just about the format of IELTS. Next session onwards, we are going to discuss about tips of all these sections, one by one. And we will be ensuring that you get through these tips very well as well. Apart from that, as I just said earlier, WhatsApp number we do have. You can WhatsApp it to us and we will send you the lecture notes, we will send you the practice notes as well, and this will help you to cope up with the pace of this class. At the same time, you can ask us your queries and we'll be more than happy to solve it for you if you intend to fulfill your vision of either settling down in a developed country or attaining knowledge, academic excellence in a different country where you may be entitled to get a good career as well. Until then, it's bye from Western and from 4TV. We will wait for you next week. Thank you.